You complain that life is short. You say there is never enough time. But tell me, when death finally presses against your door, will you say you lived? Or will you cry out, as I have heard so many cry, that you prepared to live but never actually did? The problem is not that we have little time. The problem is that we pour it out like water through cracked hands, and then we wonder why we arrive at the end with nothing. Life is long, if you know how to use it. You are here because something is wrong, and you know it. You feel time slipping through your fingers. You are busy, exhausted even, yet at the end of the day, the week, the year, you ask yourself, what did I actually do? Where did it all go? You make plans for the future, but the future keeps becoming the past, and you are no closer to the life you imagined. You tell yourself, once this project is finished, once I get that promotion, once the children are grown, then I will live. But that day never comes. You are always preparing, never arriving. I have seen this in countless lives, the powerful and the poor alike. They reach the end and realize they spent their entire existence serving other people's needs, other people's opinions, other people's schedules. They never asked, what do I want, what is mine? And now, it is too late. But it is not too late for you. Not yet. What I offer you here is not motivation. I do not deal in empty encouragement. What I offer is a mirror. I will show you where your life is going, how you waste it without knowing, how you give it away freely to anyone who asks, how you live as if you will never die, and then when death arrives, act shocked that you were mortal after all. And then I will show you how to stop. This is not about time management. This is about reclaiming your life, about learning to say no, about understanding that every hour you give to something meaningless is an hour stolen from yourself, about recognizing that the present moment, this one right now, is the only time you actually possess. Most people die without ever having lived. They exist, they pass through, but they never truly inhabit their own lives. You do not have to be one of them. By the end of this, you will see time differently. You will see your choices differently, and if you are wise, you will begin to live differently, not someday, today. Let me show you what I mean, not with abstractions, but with lives, real lives that have passed before my eyes. There was a man I knew, wealthy beyond measure, admired by all. He spent his mornings in the forum, settling disputes that were not his. His afternoons were consumed by clients who lined up at his door, asking for favors, for influence, for time. His evenings were devoted to banquets where he did not want to be, surrounded by people he did not like. He told himself this was necessary, that once he reached a certain position, once he had secured his legacy, he would retire and finally live for himself. 70 years passed this way, and then illness came. I visited him on his deathbed. He was surrounded by all the trappings of success: marble floors, gilded ceilings, servants attending to his every need. But his face was hollow. He looked at me with eyes full of something I had never seen in him before. Terror. Not of death, but of wasted time. I never lived. I spent my whole life getting ready to live, and now there is nothing left. I could not console him. What could I say? He was right. This man was not lazy. He was not idle. He was busy every single day of his life. But busy doing what? Serving others, meeting expectations, chasing a future that never arrived. He lived 70 years and died having never once asked, what do I want? What is mine? And the tragedy is this: he is not the exception. He is the rule. I see this pattern everywhere I look. A woman spends 20 years climbing toward a position she thinks will bring her peace. She sacrifices her health, her relationships, her joy. She tells herself it will be worth it, that once she arrives, she will finally rest. But when she reaches that position, she discovers only more demands, more obligations, more reasons to postpone living. And so she sets a new goal. Perhaps the next promotion, the next achievement, will be the one that finally sets her free. It never is. Another man I knew worked himself into exhaustion building a business. Every waking hour devoted to growth, to expansion, to success. His children grew up without knowing him. His wife became a stranger. He missed birthdays, anniversaries, quiet evenings that could have been spent in peace. Why? Because he told himself he was building a future for them, that someday, when the business was established, he would have time for what mattered. But by the time that day came, his children were grown and gone. His wife had built a life without him. He had everything he thought he wanted and nothing he actually needed. These are not unusual stories. They are the stories of almost everyone. We spend our lives preparing to live, and then we die having never started. People guard their property fiercely. A stranger takes a coin from their purse, and they shout for the magistrate. A neighbor encroaches on their land, and they hire lawyers, wage legal battles that last years. But time? Time they give away freely. I watch them. A man is deep in thought, working on something that matters to him, and a visitor arrives unannounced. He sets aside his work immediately, as if it were nothing. The visitor talks for an hour about trivial matters. And the man listens, nods, smiles. When the visitor finally leaves, the man returns to his work, but the hour is gone, forever. He will never get it back. And yet he does not seem to mind. He tells himself he was being polite, or generous, or sociable, but what he has actually done is this. He has given away a portion of his life and received nothing in return. I am always astonished when I see people request the time of others, and even more astonished when the request is granted. Both sides treat time as if it were nothing, requested as nothing, granted as nothing. But time is everything. It is the substance of life itself, and once it is given, it cannot be recalled. Think about how absurd this is. You would never allow someone to walk into your home and take your furniture. You would never hand a stranger your wallet simply because they asked. You protect your possessions with locks and laws and righteous anger. But your time, which is infinitely more precious than any possession, you surrender without question. Someone asks, and you give. They take an hour, and you let them. They waste your afternoon, and you smile and say it was no trouble. This is madness. Your time is not renewable. When an hour passes, it is gone from the sum of your life, and you will never see it again. You would never give away years of your income to a stranger. You would never hand over your property to someone who offered nothing in return. But you do this with time, constantly, reflexively, as if there were an endless supply. There is not an endless supply. You have these days, these hours, and when they are spent, there are no more. No amount of wealth can buy back a single moment. No amount of power can make time reverse its course. What is gone forever. And yet you treat it as if it costs nothing. Even the most powerful are not immune. I knew a man who stood at the summit of human power. Augustus, the divine emperor. He had everything: armies, wealth, the adoration of millions, and yet in private he spoke only of one thing: rest. When will I have leisure, he would say. When will I be free? He spent his entire life hoping for a future that never came. Every letter, every conversation returned to the same longing. One day I will retire. One day I will live for myself. But that day never arrived. He died, still hoping for it. This is the man who controlled the world. If he could not find time for himself, what makes you think you will? The lesson is not that power brings misery. The lesson is that no amount of external success will give you time. Time is not something you find, it is something you take. You must claim it, guard it, refuse to let it be stolen, and most people never do. I watched him age before my eyes. Every year more tired, more burdened, more desperate for a rest that never came. He would speak of his plans for retirement with such longing. He would describe the quiet life he would lead, the books he would read, the gardens he would tend. But these were fantasies, empty promises he made to himself to endure one more day, one more crisis, one more demand. And in the end, he died in office, still waiting for permission to live. This is what happens when you wait for the world to give you time. It never does. The demands never stop. The obligations never end. There is always one more thing, one more task, one more reason to postpone. And so you spend your entire life waiting for a moment that never arrives. And when death comes, you realize you were waiting for permission that you should have given yourself decades ago. Imagine a traveler on a ship, so absorbed in conversation that he does not notice the shore approaching. Suddenly the ship docks. He looks up in surprise. "We are here already?" "Yes, and you never saw the journey." This is how life passes. You are busy with this task, that obligation, this meeting, that worry. Days turn into weeks, weeks into years. You think you have time. You think you are moving towards something, but all the while life is slipping past, silent and relentless, like a river that never stops flowing. The preoccupied are like men walking through the world with their eyes closed. They reach the end and ask, bewildered, when did I get old? Where did it go? They arrive at death as if by accident, never having noticed that every single day brought them closer. Time does not announce itself. It does not make noise. It does not slow down for kings or speed up for paupers. It simply moves. And if you are not paying attention, you will miss it. I have seen people reach 60, 70, 80 years and look back at their lives with shock. They cannot account for where it all went. They remember being young. They remember having plans, dreams, intentions. But somehow, all those years passed and nothing happened. Not because they were lazy, they were busy, constantly busy. But busy with what? Tasks that meant nothing, obligations that served no purpose, days filled with activity but empty of life. This is the cruel joke. You can be exhausted and still have accomplished nothing. You can work yourself to the bone and still arrive at the end with empty hands. Because busyness is not the same as living. Motion is not the same as progress. And filling your days with tasks is not the same as making your life meaningful. There was a man who said, "Every year at 50 I will retire and live in leisure." 50 came and he said at 60, 60 came and still he postponed. At 70 illness seized him. He lay dying, having spent his entire life preparing for a life he never lived. Postponement is the greatest thief of all. It robs you of today by promising tomorrow. You think, I will live later, first I must finish this. But there is always one more thing, always another obligation. And so you put off living year after year until there are no years left. I knew a woman who wanted to paint. She had talent, passion, vision, but she told herself she would start when she had time. After the children were grown, after she retired, after life settled down. She lived to be 83 years old and never picked up a brush. Not because she was too busy. She had time. Everyone has time. She simply kept giving it to other things. Things that seemed urgent but were not important. Things that demanded attention but did not deserve it. And so she died with her art still inside her, unexpressed, unborn, because she was always planning to start tomorrow. Tomorrow is a lie we tell ourselves to avoid the discomfort of living today. Tomorrow, I will exercise. Tomorrow, I will start that project. Tomorrow, I will have that difficult conversation. Tomorrow, I will live. But tomorrow never comes. There is only today, and if you do not live it, it disappears and takes a piece of your life with it. Live now, not someday, now. This is not a call to recklessness. It is a call to presence, to asking, what am I doing today? Is it mine, or am I living someone else's life? You have seen how time is lost. Now let me show you why and what you can do about it. Listen carefully to this truth. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Life is long enough. Generous even, if you invest it well. But when you squander it through careless living, when you spend it on trivial pursuits, then of course it feels short. Not because nature was stingy, but because you were wasteful. Think of wealth. A great fortune mismanaged disappears in an instant. But even modest means carefully tended can grow and sustain a lifetime. Time is the same. If you pour it into the hands of others, if you spend it on things that do not matter, you will reach the end with nothing. But the person who guards his time, who asks, is this mine? Is this worth my life? That person has enough. Not because he was given more, but because he wasted less. The complaint that life is short is the complaint of the wasteful. They had time. They simply did not know how to use it. Most people complain about nature's meanness. They say our time is too brief, that it runs its course too quickly. Even distinguished men make this complaint. They call nature to account for giving so much time to animals, while humans who are born to do great things receive so much less. But this is foolishness. It is not that we have a short time to live. It is that we waste much of it. Life is long enough, and it has been given to us in generous measure for accomplishing the greatest things if the whole of it is well invested. But when life is squandered through soft and careless living, when it is spent on no worthwhile pursuit, death finally presses, and we realize that the life which we did not notice passing has passed away. So it is. The life we are given is not short, but we make it so. We are not ill-provided, but we are wasteful of life. Just as impressive wealth is squandered in an instant when it passes into the hands of a poor manager, but modest wealth grows through careful deployment. If it is entrusted to a responsible guardian, just so our lifetime offers ample scope to the person who maps it out well. Consider how we actually spend our days. How much time goes to genuine living and how much to mere existence. You wake and immediately check messages from people who want something from you. You spend your morning in meetings about matters you do not care about. Your afternoon is consumed by tasks you did not choose. Your evening is too exhausted for anything meaningful, and then you sleep and do it again. Where in all this is your life? Where is the time that belongs to you? I see people who devote their entire existence to building wealth they will never enjoy, to pursuing status that brings no satisfaction, to maintaining appearances that serve no purpose. They work jobs they hate to buy things they do not need to impress people they do not like, and they call this living. But it is not living. It is sleepwalking. It is going through the motions while life passes unnoticed. What is the thief that steals the most? Not distraction, not laziness, postponement. You tell yourself, once I finish this project, then I will live. But the project finishes, and there is another, and another. You are always preparing for life, never actually living it. Postponement robs you of the present by promising the future. You map out what is in fortune's hand, years and decades ahead, but let slip what is in your own hand. Today, this hour, this moment. You say, I will start that business next year. I will travel when I retire. I will spend time with my family once things settle down. But things never settle. The future you are waiting for does not exist. There is only now, and if you do not seize it, it disappears. The greatest waste of life lies in postponement. It robs us of each day in turn and snatches away the present by promising the future. The greatest impediment to living is expectancy, which relies on tomorrow and wastes today. You map out what is in fortune's hand, but let slip what is in your own hand. What are you aiming at? What is your goal? All that is to come lies in uncertainty. Live right now. The preoccupied live in expectancy. They rely on tomorrow, but tomorrow is uncertain. The only time you actually possess is this moment, and if you waste it waiting for a better one, you will wake up old, having spent your whole life preparing to live. Here is what the poets knew. Each finest day is ever the first to flee. Not each year, not each decade, each day. And if you do not use the day you have been given, it is gone forever. Why are you holding back? Why are you slow to action? If you do not seize the day, it slips away. Even when you have seized it, it will still slip away, and so you must compete with time's quickness in the speed with which you use it, and you must drink swiftly, as if from a fast-moving torrent that will not always flow. People postpone everything that might bring them joy, because they are too busy with obligations that bring them nothing. They postpone rest because there is work to do. They postpone pleasure because there are responsibilities. They postpone living because there is always something more urgent. But what could be more urgent than living? What task could possibly be more important than making your one life worth living? The truth is, there is nothing more important, nothing. And yet we treat it as optional, as something to fit in around the edges of everything else. We schedule our lives around meetings and deadlines and other people's demands, and if there is time left over, if we are not too exhausted, maybe then we will do something for ourselves. This is insanity. This is backwards. Your life should come first. Everything else should fit around it, not the other way around. Tell me, whose time is it that you are living? You wake in the morning, and before you have even asked what you want to do, you are responding to emails, attending to demands, fulfilling obligations you never chose. Your schedule is controlled by others. Your attention is pulled in 100 directions. At the end of the day, you collapse, exhausted, having lived not 1 minute for yourself. This is slavery, not the slavery of chains, but the slavery of being owned by everyone except yourself. I see people who are not even their own. Their walk is regulated by another's pace. Their sleep is determined by someone else's schedule. Even their affections, they love and hate on command, according to what is expected of them. And they wonder why life feels so empty. You cannot live if you do not own your time. And you do not own your time until you take it, until you look at your days and say, "This is mine, I will not give it away." This does not mean cruelty or isolation. It means knowing the difference between what serves your life and what drains it. It means learning to say no, not rudely but firmly. It means asking with every request, every obligation, does this belong to me, or am I living for someone else? Most people spend their entire lives as tenants in their own existence, never realizing they could claim ownership. Many people have no consistent goal in life. They are thrown from one new design to another by a fickleness that is shifting, never settled, and ever dissatisfied with itself. Some have no goal at all toward which to steer their course, but death takes them by surprise as they gape and yawn. The man who devotes every second of his time to his own needs, who organizes each day as if it were his complete life, neither longs for nor is afraid of the next day. For what new kind of pleasure is there that any hour can now bring? Everything has been experienced, everything enjoyed to the full. For the rest, fortune may make arrangements as it wishes. His life has already reached safety. But most people never reach this state. They never claim ownership of their time. They live their entire lives in service to others, not out of genuine love or duty, but out of fear. Fear of saying no, fear of disappointing people, fear of being seen as selfish. And so they give and give until there is nothing left, and wonder why they feel so empty. You think the preoccupied are productive. You see them rushing from task to task, and you think they must be important, they must be achieving something. But watch them closely. What are they actually doing? They spend hours in meetings that accomplish nothing. They respond to messages that do not matter. They attend events they do not care about, maintain relationships that bring no joy, pursue goals they inherited from others and never questioned. They are not busy, they are distracted, pulled in 1,000 directions, never pausing to ask, why am I doing this? Where is this leading? Is this mine? And because they never stop, they never see. Life passes like a conversation that beguiles a traveler so absorbing that he does not notice the ship has reached its destination. Suddenly, he is old, and he cannot remember the journey. The preoccupied arrive at death bewildered, as if they were dragged from life rather than simply leaving it. They cry, "Give me more time, and I will live differently." But time does not return. It ran its course while they were too busy to notice. True productivity is not constant motion. It is intentionality. It is knowing what matters and giving your life to that. Not to everything, not to everyone, but to what is yours. Nothing is less characteristic of a preoccupied person than living. There is no knowledge that is harder to acquire. Instructors of other disciplines are everywhere. Indeed, mere boys have been seen to master some of these disciplines so thoroughly that they could even be masters in the classroom. But learning how to live takes a whole lifetime, and you will perhaps be more surprised at this. It takes a whole lifetime to learn how to die. This is what most people never understand. They think living is automatic, that simply existing day to day constitutes a life. But it does not. Living requires intention. It requires choice. It requires asking, what am I doing and why, and is this what I want? Most people never ask these questions. They simply follow the path laid out before them. They do what is expected, they pursue what others value, and they arrive at the end, having never lived a single day according to their own will. Here is a truth that most people spend their lives avoiding. You will die. Perhaps today, perhaps in 50 years, but it will happen, and you do not know when. And yet you live as if you are immortal. You postpone. You plan for distant futures. You waste years on trivialities because you believe deep down that there will always be more time. This is the most foolish delusion of all. Every moment you waste is a moment stolen from a finite store. You do not have endless days. You have these days, the ones you are living right now. And once they are gone, no emperor, no god can bring them back. I do not say this to frighten you, but to wake you. Death is not your enemy. It is your teacher. It tells you this matters. Your time is limited. Live accordingly. When you truly grasp your mortality, everything changes. You stop waiting. You stop giving your life to things that do not deserve it. You ask with every hour, if this were my last day, would I spend it this way? And if the answer is no, you stop. The wise person does not fear death. He simply refuses to waste the life he has been given. He lives fully, deliberately, in the present, because he knows there may not be another moment. No one will bring back the years. No one will restore you to your former self. Life will follow the path on which it began, and it will neither reverse nor halt its course. It will cause no commotion at all. It will call no attention to its own swiftness. It will glide on in silence. It will prolong itself at neither a king's command nor his people's clamor. It will run on just as it started out on the first day, with no diversions and no delays. And the outcome? You have been preoccupied while life hurries on. Death looms all the while, and like it or not, you have to accommodate it. Can there be anything sillier than the view of those people who boast of their foresight? They are too busily preoccupied with efforts to live better. They plan out their lives at the expense of life itself. They form their purposes with the distant future in mind. Yet the greatest waste of life lies in postponement. I have sat with many people in their final days, and I can tell you the ones who die in peace are not those who accomplished the most, or accumulated the most, or impressed the most people. The ones who die in peace are those who lived deliberately, who knew what mattered to them and gave their time to that, who said no to what did not serve them, who lived each day as if it were complete in itself. These people meet death without fear or regret. They used their time well. They lived. But most people do not die this way. Most people die in terror and regret. They cry out for more time. They list all the things they wish they had done. They express sorrow for years wasted on things that did not matter. And there is nothing sadder than watching someone realize at the end that they spent their whole life preparing to live, and now it is too late. You know the problem. You understand the disease. Now, what will you do about it? Every evening before you sleep, ask yourself, where did my time go today? Do not answer vaguely. Be specific. Account for the hours. Where were you? What were you doing? And, most importantly, was it mine? You will be shocked. You will discover that whole portions of your day were given to things you did not choose, did not value, did not even notice. Hours vanished into meetings you resented, tasks that accomplished nothing, conversations that drained you. Write it down if you must. Create a record. Not to shame yourself, but to see clearly. Because once you see where your time goes, you can begin to reclaim it. You can start saying no. You can start protecting the hours that belong to you. But you cannot change what you do not see. This is the practice of the examined life. And it begins with a simple question asked every single day. What did I do with the time I was given? Most people never examine their lives. They simply live day to day, reacting to whatever comes. They have no sense of how they spend their time. They could not tell you where the last week went, or what they accomplished, or whether any of it mattered. They are like men pouring water into a vessel with holes in the bottom. It does not matter how much you pour in if there is nothing to hold it. A man who has been ambitious in the scale of his desires, arrogant in his disdainfulness, unrestrained in prevailing over others, treacherous in his deceptions, greedy in his plunderings, and lavish in his prodigality, such a man must inevitably be afraid of his own memory. Yet, the past is the part of our existence that is consecrated and set apart, elevated above all human vicissitudes and removed beyond fortune's sway, and harried by no poverty, no fear, no attacks of disease. This part can be neither disrupted nor stolen away. Our possession of it is everlasting and untroubled. Days are present only one at a time, and these only minute by minute, but all the days of time past will attend you at your bidding, and they will allow you to examine them and hold on to them at your will. It takes a tranquil and untroubled mind to roam freely over all the parts of life, But preoccupied minds, as if under the yoke, cannot turn around and look backward. Their life therefore disappears into an abyss, and just as it does no good to pour any amount of liquid into a vessel if there is nothing at the bottom to receive and keep it, so it makes no difference how much time we are given if there is nowhere for it to settle and it is allowed to pass through the cracks and holes in the mind. When you examine your days honestly, you will find that much of what you do serves no purpose. You attend meetings because they were scheduled, not because they are necessary. You answer emails because they arrived, not because they are important. You say yes to invitations because you were asked, not because you want to go. And all of this accumulates into days, weeks, years, spent on things that do not matter. Sit down and ask what matters to me, not what your family expects, not what society values, not what looks impressive. What do you care about? What do you want your life to be about? Write down 3 things. No more. 3 things that if your life were devoted to them, you would die content. Now look at your days. How much time are you actually giving to these 3 things? If the answer is very little or none, then you are living someone else's life. Your task is this: reorganize your time around what is yours. Say no to everything that does not serve these 3 things. Not harshly, not cruelly, but firmly. You cannot do everything. You cannot please everyone. And the attempt to do so is what kills you. Decide what is yours. Then guard it as you would guard your life. Because that is exactly what it is. Believe me, it is the mark of a great man, and one rising above human weakness to allow no part of his time to be skimmed off. Accordingly, such a person's life is extremely long because he has kept available for himself the whole of whatever amount of time he had. None of it lay fallow and uncultivated, and none of it was under another's control. For being a most careful guardian of his time, he found nothing worth exchanging for it. This requires courage. Because when you start saying no, people will be upset. They are accustomed to having access to you. They expect you to be available. And when you suddenly are not, they will complain. They will call you selfish. They will try to make you feel guilty. This is the test. Can you withstand their displeasure? Can you hold firm to what you know is right, even when others push back? Most people cannot. Most people give in. They feel guilty for protecting their time. They worry about what others will think, and so they return to the old pattern. They give and give until there is nothing left. Do not make this mistake. Your time is your life. Anyone who asks you to waste it is asking you to waste your life, and you owe them nothing. What have you been putting off? What have you told yourself you will do someday when you have more time, more money, more certainty? Stop waiting, not because I am telling you to be reckless, but because someday does not exist. There is only today, and if you keep postponing, you will reach the end having never done the thing you always intended to do. Start now. Not perfectly, not with everything in place, just start. If you want to write, write today. If you want to travel, book the trip. If you want to repair a relationship, pick up the phone. The future is not promised. The present is all you have. Use it, not wastefully, deliberately, intentionally, as if it might be your last chance. Because it might be. The biggest problem with our lives is that they are always unfinished, that some part of them is always being postponed. By putting the final touch on one's life every day, you do not lack time. It is this lack that generates fear and gnawing desire for the future. Nothing is more wretched than worrying about how things are going to turn out. We are constantly in the grip of panic as to how much is left or what the future holds. How shall we escape this turmoil? There is only one way, by not allowing our life to look to the future but gathering it into itself. People hang on the future because they are frustrated by the present, but once my debt to myself has been paid and my mind has firmly accepted the fact that there is no difference between a day and an era, it can take a long view of all the days and things that are to come and merrily contemplate the whole extent of time. If one is firm in one's attitude to uncertainty, why should one be disturbed by the fluctuation and instability of fortune? What does it mean to put the final touch on your life every day? It means living as if this day were complete in itself, as if you might not wake tomorrow. Not morbidly, but honestly. If today were all you had, would you spend it the way you are spending it? If this were your last conversation, your last meal, your last hour of sunlight, would you waste it on trivialities? Or would you be present? Would you extract every drop of meaning from it? This is how the wise person lives. Every day complete, every moment attended to. Nothing postponed because he knows there may be no tomorrow. And the result? Peace. Because when you live this way, you are never waiting, never preparing, never postponing. You are always arriving, always living, always here. This is perhaps the hardest practice and the most necessary. Someone asks for your time. Your instinct is to say yes. You want to be helpful, kind, accommodating. But pause. Ask yourself, if I give this hour to them, what am I taking it from? Because time given to one thing is time taken from another. There is no escaping this truth. When you say yes to a trivial meeting, you are saying no to deep work. When you say yes to an obligation you resent, you are saying no to rest, to joy, to the people you actually love. You cannot have it all, and the attempt to please everyone is what leaves you with nothing. Learn to say no, not rudely, not with long explanations, just "I cannot, that does not work for me, I need that time for something else." The people who matter will understand. The people who do not understand do not matter. Your time is your life. Protect it. I am always astonished when I see people requesting the time of others and receiving a most accommodating response from those they approach. Both sides focus on the object of the request and neither side on time itself. It is requested as if it were nothing, granted as if it were nothing. People trifle with the most precious commodity of all, and it escapes their notice because it is an immaterial thing that does not appear to the eyes. And for that reason, it is valued very cheaply, or rather, it has practically no value at all. People set very great store by annuities and gratuities, and for these, they hire out their services or their efforts or their attentions. But no one values time. All use it more than lavishly, as if it cost nothing. But if mortal danger threatens them, you will see the same people clasping their doctor's knees. If they fear a capital charge, you will see them ready to spend all they have to stay alive. So great is the conflict in their feelings. But if each of us could see the number of years before us as precisely as the years that have passed, how alarmed would be those who saw only a few years left, and how carefully would they use them. And yet it is easy to manage an amount, however small, which is clearly defined. We have to be more careful in conserving an amount that may give out at any time. The practice of saying no is not about being difficult or antisocial. It is about being honest, about recognizing that you have limited time and must choose how to spend it. Every yes to something meaningless is a no to something meaningful. Every hour you give away is an hour you will never get back. And at the end of your life, no one will thank you for all the times you said yes when you should have said no. The only person who will care is you, and by then it will be too late. You have been shown the way. Now the choice is yours. So, here is what I have told you. Life is not short. You waste it. You give it away freely to anyone who asks. You spend it on trifles, on other people's expectations, on plans for a future that never arrives. And then when death presses at your door, you cry out in surprise, as if you were robbed of time you never had. But you do have time, enough of it. If you stop wasting it, the present moment is all you possess. Not yesterday. That is gone beyond recall. Not tomorrow. That is uncertain. In fortune's hands. Only now is yours. And if you do not live in it, you do not live at all. This is not easy. To reclaim your life requires vigilance. It requires saying no when others expect yes. It requires letting go of what does not serve you, even if the world tells you it should matter. It requires living deliberately, intentionally, as if every hour has weight, because it does. But here is the reward. When you reach the end, you will not cry out in regret. You will not say, "I never lived." You will meet death calmly with a sure step, knowing that you used the time you were given. That is enough. That is everything. The person who devotes every second of his time to his own needs, who organizes each day as if it were his complete life, neither longs for nor is afraid of the next day. For what new kind of pleasure is there that any hour can now bring? Everything has been experienced, everything enjoyed to the full. For the rest, fortune may make arrangements as it wishes. His life has already reached safety. Addition can be made to this life, but nothing taken away from it, and addition made in the way that a man who is already satisfied and full takes a portion of food which he does not crave and yet has room for. So do not be forced by the apparent beauty of any state of life as viewed from the outside. Take a stand against occupations. Rather than reducing your encumbrances, you should get rid of them altogether. There is no time that is not well suited to these healing studies, yet there are many who fail to study when caught up in the problems that give one reason to study. Make haste to live and treat each day as a life in itself. A person who prepares himself like this, making the daily round his entire life, is quite secure. Those who live on hope find every present moment slipping away. They are taken over by greed and the fear of death, a most miserable state that makes everything else quite miserable. So I leave you with this. Your life is slipping past while you stand idle. Wake up. Seize the day. Live now, not when things are perfect, not when the future arrives, but in this moment, which is the only moment you will ever truly have. If this resonated with you, if it made you see your life differently, subscribe for more reflections like this. Leave a like to show that this mattered. And in the comments, tell me, what will you stop postponing? What will you reclaim? I want to hear from you. Now go and live.